they are able to come here and invest and maximize return in the sense that the Costa Rican corporate tax is approximately 30%. Um, for manufacturing companies, if they set up their operation here in Costa Rica, inside the metropolitan area, they receive a reduced rate of only 6% of income tax. If they decide to operate outside the greater metropolitan area, which is an interesting, also another topic of conversation, it's is zero income tax rate.
Really?
Yes. For services, is zero. It doesn't matter wherever you are. You so that helps them maximize their profit here.
Welcome to another episode of Pulso Legal, a space that ARIAS opens for our partners, for our attorneys, to share information on new legal trends, on important information that we feel is accurate for people to know. So today we dive right into one of the main topics of today, free trade zones, and with us is Carlos Camacho, partner of the firm.
Germán, thank you so much for having me here. I think it's a good opportunity to share information about the free trade zone status and its regulations, which is definitely something that is driving the economy here in Costa Rica.
So thank you so much for being with us, Carlos. And you have been in the firm for how long now?
I've been here in the firm for 15 years now.
15 years. And you lead several departments, right?
Yes, I'm the partner in charge of investment and trade practices, which includes areas such as customs and trade, free trade zone regulations, real estate and hospitality, and transportation as well.
And in stepping into free trade zones, right? This is like a big issue for Costa Rican economy. As we understand it, there's a large sector of the economy that depends on this kind of enterprises. So there's a lot of talk about it, but for the people that don't know exactly what we're talking about, what is a free trade zone?
Well, a free trade zone is basically a specific area that is bonded by, is privately owned, but is bonded by the government to companies that exercise certain activities that the country has, that the government has deemed as strategic for the growth of the economy, such as manufacturing, services, trade services. And the companies that work in that specific areas commit to certain levels of investment and employment in exchange for tax benefits.
Okay. And what is it about Costa Rica that makes it such an attractive spot for this kind of foreign investment?
Well, that's a great question. In my opinion, is three key elements. One, of course, is Costa Rican long-standing political and economic stability that provides confidence to foreign investors of bringing their investments here, expanding their operations here, and they find the government as a trusted partner in order to develop their investment plan. Number two, I would say top talent. Costa Rica, as you know, has invested in the last 50 years most of their budget in education, and strategically has created programs at universities and technical high schools and colleges to the point that we are training talent to be available to both manufacturing and service companies. This talent, of course, is not necessarily the cheapest one in the region, but is what foreign investors need for certain strategic sectors and industries. And number three, the free trade zone law. The free trade zone regime basically allows for these companies to come here and eases the operation through eliminating certain taxes, such as income tax or importation taxes for equipment and raw material, and that attracts companies who are able to come here and with those take advantage of those benefits and develop their activities.
Okay, and we'll get back to that in a little while. But now that we're talking about that, you mentioned like tax exemptions, right? What are the benefits? Why is it appealing? Why is appealing for a company to become or to be part of a free trade zone?
Well, first of all, because they are able to come here and invest and maximize return, in the sense that the Costa Rican corporate tax is approximately 30%. For manufacturing companies, if they set up their operation here in Costa Rica, inside the metropolitan area, they receive a reduced rate of only 6% of income tax. If they decide to operate outside the greater metropolitan area, which is an interesting, also another topic of conversation, it's zero income tax rate.
Really?
Yes. For services, it's zero. It doesn't matter wherever you are. So that helps them maximize their profit here. They also receive other tax exemptions. For example, all importation duties are exempt. So companies are able to bring to Costa Rica equipment, the materials that they need, and machines for their improvements of their facilities, which is usually very expensive, tax-free. They are also able to make purchases in Costa Rica without paying local VAT tax. And also there is no withholding tax when companies need to repatriate funds back to their country. So all the money transferred that are sent out of the free trade zone company outside of Costa Rica are tax exempt. Finally, all the municipal taxes during the duration of the free trade zone status are also exempt. So no payment of the municipal license, no payment of a real estate municipal tax if the company owns real estate. And also if the company purchases real estate, there is an exemption of the transfer tax.
So this is basically like the government saying, I will renounce a lot of taxes in exchange for investment here, because the government wants employment, I guess, and to bring and to allow businesses to grow in Costa Rica.
Exactly. There's of course a trade-off, and the government is giving away these taxes, but the amount of jobs that free trade zone companies are creating is what is helping our economy right now. If you look at the list of employers in Costa Rica, the companies that the sectors that employ most of create more jobs are free trade zone companies, in both the services industry and manufacturing industry. So the creation of jobs is the main driver for this government strategy. Also, is the creation of a supply chain, creating an environment where other Costa Rican companies that can be also free trade zone company, operate under a free trade zone or be outside the free trade zone regime, can provide services to these foreign entities that are coming to perform their activities here. So, for example, this allows for opportunities for the real estate developers, because they are able to create industrial parks and office parks that will be occupied by these free trade zone companies, foreign companies that will be expanding their operations here. It did create opportunities for other type of suppliers, local manufacturing companies that can provide raw material such as plastic, molding, some type of materials that are required for the manufacturing. Even the food industry that has grown a lot, in the sense that a lot of companies provide cafeterias for their employees. So they hire third-party services for the catering service of the food for their employees. So it's a creation of jobs, not only directly, but also indirectly, and also boosting the economy through supply chain.
That's actually very interesting because, in analyzing, for example, the political landscape, practically no one is disputing the need for free trade zones, right? There are those who want actually to expand them and to make it more accessible, but it does seem like a stable, positive business for the country.
Yes, in fact, I mean the Free Trade Zone Act has been in place since the 1980s, and it has suffered little reforms. Um, all the administrations since the 1980s have found that the free trade zone regime is a very useful tool to boost the economy and attract foreign investment. A few years ago, when there was a change of political party, after the terms of the two incumbent parties, we finally elected a third party, which was part of their platform during the campaign was cutting certain exemptions. A lot of people were foreseeing some sort of push to redefine the free trade zone law and cut some exemptions there. However, when they came into office and saw the benefits of the free trade zone and how much it helped the economy and boosted job creation, no change was made to the free trade zone law. In fact, after that, the free trade zone law has been praised, and I think that there is a general consensus in all the political parties that the free trade zone law is a very valuable asset for the Costa Rican country.
In getting into practical matters, what kind of companies can apply for this? Is there like a sector-based application, or how does it work? Or can anyone apply for it?
Yes, anyone can apply to the free trade zone regime. The law creates several categories, but the main ones are services, and by services, what we see a lot is shared service centers, companies that need either for internal support of other companies around the world from the same group in areas of accounting, finance, HR, customer service, or also outsourcing services such as software development, design, and some part of the engineering process. Those type of companies can apply for the free trade zone regime. In manufacturing is the other one that is very popular and where there is the major growth. In fact, Costa Rica's main product of export right now is medical devices. So the medical sector sees Costa Rica as a medical cluster and is recognized as such around the world. Light manufacturing, some other type of manufacturing. We also have trading companies, logistic companies that basically are able to bring products into Costa Rica from third parties, do certain processes here, manage the inventory, and then either ship it outside of Costa Rica, some sort of distribution centers. Those are the main ones. But basically, the requirements to apply for the free trade zone regime is basically having a local presence, a local entity, either by a subsidiary or a branch, and then making a commitment of at least $150,000 in fixed assets and some sort of employment level, which varies from services to manufacturing. In services, you need to fulfill, or you need to comply with a formula that balances investment and employment. In manufacturing, you just set a threshold of the number of employees that you need for your operation. And then in both cases, you just need to maintain an average of that employment commitment. Those are the main requirements. If you can meet, and a clarification is, $150,000 is within the metropolitan area. If you go outside the metropolitan area, the benefits and the requirements are less.
And that's something important that you have mentioned several times, like the difference between the metropolitan area and outside the metropolitan area. What you mean by that is from Cartago to San Ramon or to Alajuela or something like that, right? And
yeah, it's basically Cartago to Alajuela, including Grecia.
Grecia.
Recently,
Grecia is part of the metropolitan area.
No, it's
outside.
Outside. It's after Coyol. The next hub that you have for manufacturing is Grecia. So Grecia, when you get to Grecia, that's where the line starts for outside the metropolitan area. Cartago is inside the metropolitan area.
Okay, and the idea is to make those kind of benefits go outside of the metropolitan area in order to reach part of the countries that are not, or that have probably more problems with jobs and things like that. Because I know from Grecia, I know that there's a project in San Carlos as well. And I think the idea will be to get those kind of benefits out there as well.
Correct. The law foresees better benefits for operations outside the metropolitan area in order to help less developed areas in the country in job creation and boosting of economy. This administration has a specific strategy to boost this outside of the metropolitan area, to boost areas outside the metropolitan area. And that's why it has been pushing for a lot of companies to explore the possibility to look at different areas of the country. And you're correct. There's a project in San Carlos. There are at least 3 main parks in Grecia that are starting to host industrial companies. There's a park in Liberia, close to the airport, that also is hosting free zone companies. There is also some talks about increasing the possibility of developing other areas, all seeking job creation and supply chain in those lesser developed areas.
And it talks very well about the country that usually as you get away from the capital, education levels seem to be lower, but Costa Rica seems to be a country that has high standards even outside of the capital.
Yes, I think Costa Rica has done a really good job at educating its people, and that's why talent is one of the main reasons why foreign direct investors choose Costa Rica over other countries. There's always a question about the right talent. So right now we're seeing a little shift in that sense. A few years ago, most of the companies that required high-skilled labor tend to chose to stay in the metropolitan area. Of course, because that's where most of the population is. And if they need engineers or they need some other of a top talent, it was easier to get it from here. However, there are towns and cities outside the metropolitan area that now have a larger population that is trained and that they travel from. For example, right now people from Grecia travel to Coyol every morning to work at these free zone manufacturing companies. The fact that the developers have created new opportunities and new parks for companies to set up their operations there now is giving them a chance to work closer from home. So there is a interesting shift in the sense that companies are being able to go outside the metropolitan area to find that talent. Of course, this is the first step. The main objective is to try to drive these companies to other areas such as Guanacaste or Punta Arenas. There's another park in Orotina, which offers a facility that is close to the Pacific port. But there is still some work to be done regarding the availability of skilled labor to tend the needs of the companies that will choose set up outside the metropolitan area.
Okay, and going back to practical matters, if a company is interested in, a company says, I want to invest in Costa Rica, I want to become or to be part of the free trade zone regime, how one comes about that? How do they do it?
Well, Costa Rica has a great promotion strategy. Has had it for the past 30 years. In fact, either if the attraction comes from a Procomer or from CINDE, which is an NGO, the message that is put out there is that Costa Rica is a very friendly jurisdiction to make business, to keep your investment safe, and that will give you both the benefits and the talent. Companies are attracted by this message, and when they come here, they confirm that there is enough park infrastructure to host their operations, that there is enough talent, and that in fact the law provides this safety for their investment. It is very important to get advice and to understand and navigate the regulatory environment that is around the free trade zone regime. Especially because it's not just fulfilling the commitment of reaching the investment level or the employment level, but to plan ahead your investment for the 8 year term that is offered by the law under the free trade zone in the metropolitan area, because there are opportunities to reinvest and maximize the benefits and extend the term of the benefits. And to do that, you need to get the correct advice, and that's something that we usually do. We do not stop just at helping file the applications, get the permits, incorporate a legal entity. We like to understand what is the investment plan for our clients and help them with a strategy. And sometimes companies come here, they invest the minimum, and then they find that they like Costa Rica, that they like the talent, that they want to increase their capacity, or they want to bring new lines of production. And that requires a new investment. The law allows for companies to use that investment to what I'd like to call the reclocking of the benefits. So if you're in year 3 of the free trade zone term and you make a significant investment, you can apply for an extension, and then that will give you another 8 years from that point. You renew your benefits using that investment. So it's important to have the correct advice and plan to maximize your investment to get the most out of the benefits.
And that's really interesting what you're saying, because sometimes you think of the scope of work of the attorneys as just help you filing documents and complying with requirements and getting permits and that, and there's a more broader scope to what you do, right?
Correct. Especially in projects, in manufacturing projects where this investment heavy. Usually, we're talking about. The requirement, the law is $150,000, but these manufacturing companies they invest over $1 million, $2 million, or even above $10 million. There's a special category for projects that go over $10 million in investment, called mega projects. So part of what we do is to understand this and to help plan, not just the filings, not just the legal work related to get all the operational permits, but there's also an interdisciplinary analysis. There's also the need to involve the real estate team, because the negotiations with the parks to sign the lease agreements for the coal shells, the construction agreements that need to be put in place to make the improvements on the coal shells are very relevant. And then, of course, all the compliance that comes after the company is under operation. The free trade zone, again, is a very valuable and a very attractive option. But it does come with certain degree of review by the Free Trade Zone Authority, and then compliance is very important. So in our case, we also have besides our legal team, we also have accountants specialized in free trade zones. We have customs expert specialized in free trade zones, just to help our clients manage the compliance regulations that are around the free trade zone status.
And that's very important, because at the end of the day, it's a company operating, and it has a lot of matters that need to be attended at any time. And the idea of, you mentioned something, a couple of advices, and went ahead of the question that I wanted to ask, but from a practical perspective, what would you advise companies to take into consideration when they want to invest in Costa Rica?
Well, first is to create an investment plan, which most companies do. But to create an investment plan and investment strategy, talk it to your legal and financial advisors, and then to understand that the free trade zone regime is not just getting the benefits. There is a whole new world after you get your free trade zone status opens when you reach that point, because then of course there is certain degree of organization that needs to happen, of records, and let's not forget that the whole point of the free trade zone is to bring assets and equipment and raw material into Costa Rica to an area that is bonded, that no taxes are paid for those assets. So what happens? There needs to be a tight customs control of those assets, and that's why free trade zones are in a specific parks. There could be a standalone operations, but they need to follow the same rules as the park has. Customs regulations require that these areas need to be enclosed, that there need to be certain degrees of safety to ensure that those assets do not leave that bonded space. And that comes with a lot of paperwork, because then companies, when they import the assets, they need to keep the original invoices, they need to keep the customs declarations and all other documents that will support those assets. There's a need to keep an operations log, an asset log, and all that is very important for, and if at some point the company decides to withdraw from a free trade zone regime, you need to do a process before customs where you need to justify what are the assets. You need to explain to the customs authority whether these assets have been re-exported or where they have been nationalized and paid taxes. So there's a lot of work related to keeping the assets under free trade zone.
Something as simple as a computer getting lost.
Correct.
You need to. It's not as simple as, well, it got lost. You need to file a report and do all of this process that you mentioned.
Correct, because again, it is an asset that has been imported with tax exemption. So if that happens, then a police report needs to be filed, and there needs to be a payment of the taxes for that equipment, and all that needs to go into the company's accounting. Again, compliance is a matter of order. If you have your paperwork in order, it's going to find it's not. The free trade zone regime is not complicated. Companies are able to do this on a day-to-day basis, as long as they have the correct understanding of free trade zone rules and they have the correct advice on how to deal with these compliance matters.
Okay, and you did mention something about this before, but what do you see are the main challenges in the future going ahead? As for companies and for Costa Rica to keep being important in the sector.
Well, that's a great question, and it's a question that has granted a lot of conversation in different panels and forums about Costa Rica as a cluster in the medical device sector and services sector. Personally, I think that the two main challenges that Costa Rica has is infrastructure, public infrastructure, not private. There's a lot of investment in the private sector. The quality of the industrial and office parks that we have in Costa Rica is comparable to, other countries that also attract for direct investment.
Internet services, for example, are quite good here.
Internet services are quite good. But the main challenge is highway infrastructure, roads. It has become a topic of conversation when we host companies that are interested in or are analyzing Costa Rica as a possible place to expand their operations. And the comment has become the same in recently, which is we need to expand our highways and we need to improve how easy these companies can transport their final products from their facility, from the industrial park to the airport or to the ports, or even just making an easier commute for their employees to the park. That's something that I really think that we need to focus on. The other issue, which not necessarily is a problem right now, but we need to start working a little bit more on this, is availability of top talent. Costa Rica has done a great job at creating opportunities for people to get technical degrees and get engineering degrees. But because so many companies are looking into Costa Rica right now, there is going to be a moment where we're going to need more engineers or more technical degrees. So the challenge is to continue producing people with these skills and with these degrees. Again, we have a plan. I just think that if we want to grow more, want to grow exponentially in these sectors, the government and the private organizations need to bring more people into these industries and this type of studies, so that we are able to continue to provide the number of people with the specifications that these companies need.
So we need to walk hand by hand with the public and private sectors here, right? Is the only way.
Correct, and that's something that I think that Costa Rica does really well through trade associations and chambers. There is there's a trade association that gathers most of all the free trade zone companies are in an entity called ASOFRAS, which represents free trade zone companies before the government and are able to convey messages. There are other trade association or commerce chambers that interact with the government and relay the messages to the Federation of Chambers, UCAEB, that can talk to the government and explain what are the needs that we have. These two topics is something I think that the government knows very well, that they need to improve infrastructure, and that we need to continue to create a good, skilled, educated people to be able to provide to continue to provide talent to foreign companies expanding here.
Yeah, but there's always going to be challenges ahead. But do you see as a positive the future for free trade zones in Costa Rica?
Yes, I think that we continue to attract a lot of companies in these sectors. We have had another challenge in the services sector, which is cost. Costa Rica has become a little less competitive in the services industry vis-a-vis other countries in Southeast Asia that have also topped their game and are now attracting companies for customer service, accounting, finance, something that we were really known to be really well at, and we continue to be. It's just a matter that the cost of operating here in Costa Rica is higher than other countries. On the manufacturing side, I think we continue to be very competitive because the manufacturing that is done here in Costa Rica is different from the manufacturing is being done in Mexico, for example, or in China. Here it requires a little bit more of a skilled talent to do it. So I think that we have cornered that niche, and we continue to be very, very competitive. But then again, we cannot just stay comfortable and enter a comfort zone. We need to continue to educate the young generations and younger people in these careers and in these technical degrees, so that there's always availability to make front to all these companies that are looking into Costa Rica for the future.
Yeah, definitely. So Carlos, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure, and hopefully this conversation will provide information for people and companies interested, and we really appreciate the time.
No, thanks for having me. It has been very interesting to discuss these topics with you, and hopefully companies will continue to be intrigued by the Costa Rican environment and regulatory benefits that we offer. We are always welcoming of new opportunities to provide information about not only the Costa Rican law, but also Costa Rican opportunities and benefits, especially under the free trade zone.
Thank you very much.